Welcome. We are here in Cancun, Mexico, learning the laws of Shabbat from Rabbi Yonatan Nachsan, and we are discussing reading the Parasha on Shabbat. The Baal Koreh should review the Parasha several times before reading it on behalf of the congregation. This is talking about on Shabbat, when you have the Baal Koreh, he shouldn't just get up there and say, it's my Bar Mitzvah Parasha. Let me just get up there and wing it. He should spend a few times to read it. One who is not properly prepared should not be the Baal Koreh, since doing so without preparing is not only a lack of respect for the congregation, but also it is not respectful for the Torah as brought down in the Shulchan Aruch. It is customary in many communities that a person stands next to the Torah, aside from the Baal Koreh and the person who receives the Aliyah. So normally you'll have the person who gets the Aliyah, he's on the right side, and then you have in the center the Baal Koreh, and then you have on the left what we call a Somekh. The Somekh is a few reasons. One, the main reason is that he makes sure that he's reading properly and that there's no mistakes. Let's read, he has a note on the bottom. The Kafa Hayim, Sofed, brings down in 141-22 in the name of the Petach HaDevid. He states that some have the custom that the third person stands on the right side of the bima, and some have the custom that he stands to the left side of the bima. So the custom of Rabbi Mansour and of the Syrian congregations is to have on the left side where the Somekh will stand up. And it's very important to have a Somekh in order to make sure that he's reading properly without any mistakes. Ideally, a Sfaradi should listen to the parasha read with a Sephardic pronunciation, cantillation, and preferably a Sephardic Sefer Torah. If one did not, though, he has nevertheless fulfilled his obligation. One should especially try to have a Sephardic reading on the weeks of Parashat Zachor and Parashat Para. Those are going to come up now in the month of Adar. There's two Parashiyot, Parashat Para and Parashat Zachor, which are according to the Shulchan Aruch from the Torah. Every other parasha during the week is from the rabbis to read it. But when it comes to those two, it's from the Torah. Let's take a look. He brings down from Chazon Ovadya and Yalkut Yosef, which discusses this at length. This is also the opinion of Rabbi Yosef Shalom Eliashiv, as brought down in Ashrei Ha'ish, who states that the Sephardi may fulfill his obligation through Ashkenazi recitation. So let's say you're stuck in an Ashkenazi shul, and you heard the Torah from Ashkenazi who's laning in a different ta'am. Are you Yotzeh? You're Yotzeh, for sure. And vice versa. Let's say Ashkenazi is stuck in a Sephardic or Syrian congregation. He also would be okay. This is the view of Teshuvot, V'hanagot, and Moadim, Uzmanim, as well as others. Strictly speaking, a Sfaradi may use a Temani Sefer Torah despite the fact that there are slight differences. Now, it's important to note, between the Sfaradi and Ashkenazi Sefer Torah, there is only one letter that's different. I remember when I was a kid growing up, they used to tell us all the Sefer Torahs are the same. And I believed them until I got older and I started to check and I found out that it's not the case. Well, I'll give you an example. When it comes to the Sfaradi and Ashkenazi, there's one letter. Which one? Is a word called Pesu'a Daka. The Sfaradim, we have it with an Aleph. The Ashkenazim have it with a Hey. Now, what's interesting, the Temanim, if I'm not mistaken, have something of over 10 letters, maybe 10 or 15 letters completely extra in their Torah. But what's surprising is that the extra letters are all silent letters. They don't actually change the way that it's read. So here, the question is, let's say you have only a Temani Sefer Torah. Can you use it? It's kasher to use it. It's not a problem, even in this case. Preferably, one should not appoint a Baal Koreh who's under the age of Bar Mitzvah. However, if there is no one else available who knows how to read the parasha properly, then even a minor may serve as a Baal Koreh. Let's say you're in a place that everyone's older, they're not well-versed in reading, and you have a young kid. The young kid is expert. He's 11 years old. He reads the Torah excellent. Just as a note, just last week I was in Miami. I was praying in Magen David of Surfside on Shabbat. There was a kid, he must have been 13 years old, maybe 14 maximum, from Argentina. He read the Torah so beautifully, every single ayin, every aleph, every time. I couldn't believe it. He read better than the guy who's 45 years old who's reading it for 30 years. So there are situations where that happens. And in a case where there's a katan, it's okay. Now, for sure, when it comes to the maftir, you can have anyone read it. Even a katan, definitely no problem. Because a maftir doesn't have that issue at all. During the Kiryat Torah, the custom of Sfaradim is to remain seated. Some Ashkenazi communities, however, stand throughout the Kiryat Torah. If a Sfaradi is praying in a minyan that has a custom that they stand during Kriyat Torah, then he should stand along with them. I know amongst the Sfaradim, Syrian congregations, they do not stand up when they read the Torah. But amongst the Ashkenazim, you see them, they're always standing. So if
your elder goes up says bracha, do you only stand up for the bracha or the entire aliyah?
Oh, great question. So I'll repeat the question. Let's say you have a family member or a zaken get up. First, as a side note, it's a mitzvah from the Torah that when somebody is 60 years or older and he walks within 8 feet in front of you, you should stand up or at least go like this. 60. It's brought down 60 years old. So, and by the way, that's everybody. It's everybody. And it even's brought down even goyim. Even a goy. It may not be the oraita when it comes to Sfaradi, to Jews, it's the oraita. But even amongst not Ashkenazim, goyim, you can even stand up for somebody that's not Jewish. But now, when it comes to somebody over the age of 60, you stand up. When it comes to like a family member older than you, an uncle, a father, the Syrian custom, generally I've seen it, they stand up the whole aliyah. And that's what we do, especially when it's the rabbi. Now, Rabbi Mansour, whenever he gets an aliyah and he gets maftir, he tells everyone stand up for the aliyah, but sit down for the maftir, for the haftarah. So you'll stand up for the aliyah, but when he's reading the whole entire haftarah, it could be 5, 6, 10 minutes, he usually will signal them. Just last week, he was praying in Magen David, he got the aliyah of maftir, everyone stood up. When it came to the haftarah, he signaled everybody to sit down, so they don't have to stand up now for 10, 15 minutes and make a Torah sibud. Some communities have the custom to stand during the recitation of Aseret HaDibrot, when they read in Parashat Yitro or later on in Parashat Va'ethanan. One should not follow this custom. You should not stand up for Aseret HaDibrot. And we're going to read the notes on it, especially if the rabbis of the community are sitting and no one will appear haughty by standing in front of them. However, one may stand to honor his father or rabbi who's called up to the Torah. So what usually will be done is you put the rabbi on the aliyah, and then everybody stands up anyway. But if you didn't put the rabbi up, you shouldn't stand up for Aseret HaDibrot. Why is Aseret HaDibrot any more important than the rest of the Torah?
What if you're in Ashkenaz shul and everyone's doing it anyway?
We just mentioned that. We said when it comes to Ashkenazi shuls, then you should stand up with them. The aliyah of Aseret HaDibrot. If one is praying with a minyan in which everyone is standing, he should stand from the beginning of the aliyah so as to avoid showing preference to the Aseret HaDibrot. Usually when you start Aseret HaDibrot, they don't start from Anochi Hashem. They start from a few Pesukim before. So if everyone is standing, stand up from before, so you're not showing to stand up just for the Aseret HaDibrot. Now there's a big note on the bottom, and I'm going to read it for you here. The Rambam in Teshuvot, and Siman 46, and Rambam Orchot, Siman 263, state that one should not stand up for Aseret HaDibrot since it encourages heretics, which is like apikoros, to think that the Aseret HaDibrot are greater than the rest of the Torah, when in reality, every word of the Torah is equally important. Aseret HaDibrot is not any more important than the rest of the Torah. Some poskim say that this is no longer applicable for several reasons. First, the Yaskil Avdi and the Tzitz Eliezer say that since the Rambam did not record this halacha in Mishneh Torah and the Yad HaChazakah, we may assume that this was not a conclusive halachic decision. He was just basing it on a recommendation. Additionally, Rabbi Shalom Masas in Shemush U'Magen from the Moroccans, he points out that nowadays it is rare to find heretics who would come to such conclusions. Today, we don't live in a time where you see an apikoros come to shul and he stands up just for this. Today, the apikoros doesn't even come to shul. He's not even observant anymore. See also Yechaveh Da'at in Hazan 3-13. Thirdly, some poskim say that the Rambam was only referring to the annual readings of Parashat Yitro and Va'ethanan, when the Aseret HaDibrot are not read with a special tune. Today, when we read the Aseret HaDibrot, we read it with a different Ta'am Elyon, completely different. On Shavuot, though, when we read the Aseret HaDibrot with a special tune, we try to reenact the feeling of when the Torah was given on Har Sinai, and we stand during the Aseret HaDibrot just as Bnei Israel did when they got the Torah. So we follow the same custom. Furthermore, some add that we should not discontinue this age-old custom because of heretics. It's also brought down, which from the Hilchot Chag B'Chag in Minhagei Shavuot, which also has the same conclusion on this. Hacham Avadia Yosef, on the other hand, writes in Yabi'a Omer and Yechaveh Da'at that the Rambam's words still apply for several reasons. First, the Rambam's omission of this halakha in Mishneh Torah does not necessarily indicate that this was not conclusive. Just because he didn't write it in the Mishneh Torah doesn't mean that was not the halakha. Second, such heretics are still common, such as many in the Reform movement or conservative who believe that the Aseret HaDibrot have more significance than the rest of the Torah. So really, there could be heretics in our generation. Therefore, he says one should refrain from standing during Aset HaDibrot, and therefore the customs for Sfaradim, according to Chacham Ovadia Yosef, and according to the Syrian tradition, is you don't stand when it comes to Aset Dibrot. It is customary to stand throughout the entire reading of Aliyah when one's father or rabbi is receiving the Aliyah. Some people even have the custom to stand for an older brother or a father-in-law, and I know even in the Syrian community, even for an uncle. You see an uncle get up, you stand up, it's kavod. Listen, if you sit down, you're probably going to cause lashon hara, mahloket. It's better to stand up and avoid the mahloket. One may not leave the synagogue while the Torah is being read. Very important. Once the Baal Koreh is reading the Torah, you can't just get up and leave in the middle of the Aliyah. If one has a need to do so, he should only leave between the Aliyot. So if I've seen many times, I remember I saw Rabbi Nathan Eskava. He made a big deal about it because sometimes he's the Baal Koreh. When someone else would read, he would make sure not to leave during the Aliyah. So when you do, you leave between the Aliyot. You don't have to leave specifically during the Aliyot. All right, we're going to end it right here. There's one more halakha and we'll end it. When the Torah is being read, one should focus on the Torah reading and follow along quietly. One may not even speak about Torah topics during the Kiriyah of the Torah. However, one who has trouble hearing and cannot hear the Torah may learn other topics quietly while the Torah is being read. The best way is to follow along with your finger.
Don't read the Mefarshim at the same time again.
But listen, don't actually say it, and don't read the Shnai Mikra Chat Targum when they're doing it. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen v'Amen.